Hey everyone, it's Brandon Ayton from Wet Ink Games. I'm here with one of our artists from Wild Skies Europa Tempest, Amy Ashbaugh. Uh, Amy, can you just maybe tell the watchers a little bit about yourself and maybe the couple of pieces you did for Europa Tempest?
Well, I am a freelance artist and I work for a lot of different games. And there's not a lot to that really. Gaming is actually one of the things that inspired me to pursue art as a profession. Just being exposed to RPGs in my teens was really what kind of cinched the deal. um, but yeah, I love illustrating for games because it's just being able to explore all those different sandboxes and being able to play with all these different concepts and everything, and it's really fun.
Well, so Amy, I've known her for quite some time, and like many of the artists who contributed to Wild Skies Europa Tempest, she was someone that we already had previously. We had a previous relationship with, and she did two setting pieces for Wild Skies Europa Tempest. The first was you can see on the back of the book, and as well in the section about France. It's the skyline of Paris by night. We pretty much said, all right, Amy, we want Paris, but we kind of want this diesel punky Eiffel Tower, and have at it. What she turned in was fantastic. It was at night and had like airships and spotlights and all kinds of stuff. We're blown away. And the second was the piece about Malta. We had, the island of Malta chained to the earth, and it's a pirate haven, and there's stuff hanging all over it. And just pretty much gave her very minimal direction, and that's what she came up with. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about your creative process, or how you either like take that direction and massage it and turn it into the final piece that you put out? Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Well, I usually start, particularly with things that have real world counterparts. I usually start with research, and this is how I tackle a lot of my illustrations. Because and even into my body of personal work too. A lot of things that I illustrate are representational. So you're always having to look for pictorial reference, and the things like Paris that you don't want to try and make things like that up.
Yeah.
Paris is a real world city. It needs to be recognizable. I think one of the things that makes Paris what it is that Eiffel Tower. So, I had a reference photo of Paris from actually modern day, and I had to kind of like wiggle it back in time,
Yeah.
and then remaking the Eiffel Tower. So it was still recognizably the Eiffel Tower, but a new diesel punk version of it, which finding reference for diesel punk stuff is a little bit tricky
Yeah.
because you're filtering out like the crossover with other genres.
Yeah.
And yeah, so finding like enough reference to make a style guide for that was a little tricky. And largely it's the same process with Malta, like looking at maps of Malta, trying to figure out what the terrain is made of. So when and I think Malta was a little bit different because I made a lot of that up.
Yeah.
There's the one island floating. I wanted to at least get. I don't even think the shape is recognizable really because I have it way up in the air. But yeah, and then just making sure the scale was mostly correct,
Yeah.
and yeah, believable. I think, and this, and I think saying this, it extends to all representational art. You're not always trying for photographic accuracy, but believability instead, and it's a really important distinction to make, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, as long as like you believe, hey, this is a floating island and it is chained to the other island, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. It's one of the things that Matthew Orr, who is the other half of Wedding Games, when he was working on the histories and the alternate histories of our setting, that was kind of the where he was going. We wanted to make sure that it's believable, it's plausible, not necessarily entirely accurate,
Mm-hmm.
because an alternate history.
Yeah.
But so I think that's a good point. Do you have any I guess any tips for people who are aspiring artists or people looking to get into the gaming industry as on a freelance basis? What are some, maybe one or two tips that you would give to an aspiring artist?
Number one, know your market. That's super important. Every company that you're going to approach has a thing that they do. So you have to know what that thing is, and you have to know how your work can apply to it. And the best thing you can do is to make a couple of pieces. They don't have to be too far outside your own wheelhouse, but they have to be in a style that fits that product. That's the best thing that you can do, because any publisher is going to look at your work and say, can I print this? And if they can answer that question with yes when they're looking at your stuff, that's going to get you in.
Right. And that's great advice. All right. Well, that's really all the time we have. So I just want to thank you for joining us. Thank you
for having me.
Yeah. And I want you guys to think... actually, one last thing. Amy, where can they find examples of your work? Or are you on DeviantArt? Are you on Facebook? Where can people find your stuff?
I'm on most social media as A.L. Ashbaugh. My website is alashbaugh.com. That's my portfolio site. You can just see a lot of examples of my work there. And I have a Twitch stream Sundays and Wednesdays. And that is twitch.tv/A.L. Ashbaugh.
There you go. Well, thank you so much. We'll actually see if we can put some of that contact information in the comment section or below. And if you want, you can go on and find us on at Wet Ink Games on Facebook. You can also back the current Kickstarter for Wild Skies Liberating Strife. We're going strong, so I just want to say thank you and have a good day.